Thank you, Gavin. Congressman McCall and Van Hollen, members of the Congressional Childhood Cancer Caucus, thank you for all you do. And thank you for inviting me here today to update you on the implementation of the Creating Hope Act. Passed last year into federal law as Section 903 of the FDA Safety and Innovation Act, the Creating Hope Act provides market incentives for pediatric rare disease drug development. Thank you, Congressman McCall and Van Hollen and Butterfield, for your leadership and tremendous effort in achieving the passage of the Creating Hope Act. And a special thanks to Mrs. Linda McCall, whose vision for better drugs for kids was really the inspiration for this effort. Drug development is a long, long process. It can take 7 years for the development of a drug until it receives FDA approval. And the vast majority of drugs do not make it to the finish line. It's hard to see immediate results. But I'm proud to say that 1 year after the passage of the Creating Hope Act, companies are already changing how they develop drugs for kids with cancer. At least 4 companies have applied for designations for Creating Hope Act vouchers. A designation is a signal from the FDA that should a drug be approved, it will merit a voucher. The FDA has already authorized one such voucher and is actively reviewing the other applications. And the FDA is currently drafting forms and guidance on the Creating Hope Act to give direction to companies as to how to use the Act. We are working with the FDA to support and assist in this process as requested. And we are now seeing new interest by pharmaceutical companies, biotech companies, and venture capital investors in pediatric cancer drug development. Here's just a few examples of conversations I've been part of recently. First, families and friends are now writing into their donation letters to pediatric cancer research institutions requirements that researchers apply for designations for Creating Hope Act vouchers for any drugs that arise from funded research. What this means is that a $2 million investment could possibly result in a significant revenue stream that would continue to fund pediatric cancer drug development for that research institution, should the research that they are working on result in an approved drug. A month ago, I was contacted by the business development team of a cutting-edge biotech firm. By the way, I just want to mention that in the past few months, I've talked to about 24 companies about the Creating Hope Act and about how they can think about their business development plans. They've been very, very interested and very receptive. I want to tell you about this particular company. They asked me about the Creating Hope Act as well as other incentives we have developed and identified. And they have investigational drugs that could possibly have efficacy both for adult cancers and possibly some very exciting efficacy for some terminal pediatric cancers. At the conclusion of the conversation, they informed me that based on the Creating Hope Act and the potential voucher that they could receive, that they would pursue drug development for in particular one exciting investigational drug on the pediatric indication first. And that should this drug and the other investigational drugs in their portfolio not prove to have benefit for adult cancers, that they would still, that there would still be significant reasons for them to develop them for children's cancers. It will take some time for markets to notice shift in company strategies, but it's beginning to happen. And that means that in addition to charitable contributions and federal funding, that we may be able to look increasingly to the prospects of companies beginning to invest in pediatric cancer drug development because now they can earn a reasonable rate of return. I'm also excited to share with you that we've been contacted by investors who may be willing to invest in biotechs and startup companies who will be focusing on pediatric cancer drug development based on the prospect of securing a Creating Hope Act voucher and accessing some of the other incentives we have identified and developed. This is an early trend, but it's an increasingly, it's a strategy that is increasingly of interest to industry. So I believe we have reached a tipping point. There are now reasons to believe that businesses will focus on drug development for pediatric cancers in ways that they haven't in the past. There's the Creating Hope Act. And there are other incentives, such as early written request mechanisms under Best Pharmaceuticals for Children's Act that we proposed to the FDA and that the FDA is now implementing. There's premium pricing. And the FDA has demonstrated a willingness to accept very flexible trial designs for pediatric cancer drug development. And we have demonstrated once again as a community, in addition, that there are reasons for Congress to work with us, that we will stand together to ask our representatives and our senators for legislation to help our kids. Let's do it again for the Caroline Price Walker Conquered Childhood Cancer Reauthorization Act and the Childhood Cancer Survivors Quality of Life Act. Like many parents in this room, I've lost a child, my son Jacob. I miss him and I will never get him back. But together we have created hope, and we now need to work together to save other children. So thank you.